Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my updated Inzektor deck. Now I've had an Inzektor deck for a while, but this deck really hasn't overgone that many changes. There's not really too much to mess with. Pretty standard build. There are some interesting things that I'll talk about in the side deck, but as far as the skeleton goes in the build, you'll see a lot of the same things. And even when I was changing it, I didn't really mess around with too much. Just try to add some stuff to make it a tiny bit more consistent, but overall, the play style and the cards that you use are pretty much standard. Inzektors are one of these archetypes that kind of makes themselves into equip cards, so they're sort of similar to Vylons and Dragoonides, but they have a different sort of playstyle because they focus so much on getting things to the graveyard and just recycling, and they can really abuse some annoying effects. And once they have what they need set up on the field, it's very difficult for your opponent to deal with. The only issue with a deck like this is the consistency of getting everything set up and then, going ham and going straight in for your opponent. So first off, we're going to be running one Dragonfly and one Hornet. So these cards are limited because of how powerful they are. Dragonfly is just really, really good. Really nice defensive stats, and you'll be able to special summon Inzektors really easily. Hornet is just a crazy card that sometimes I'm kind of unsure why this is in existence. It's so crazy when you have what you need. Just keep on destroying cards over and over again, which is very powerful depending on your field situation. So very powerful. It makes sense that these are limited. Them being limited hurts Inzektors a lot, but I can see a lot of problems if they were, even semi-limited. So keep an eye on that. I think they're probably going to stay limited for the near future, though, because of the strength of those two cards. So now 3 Centipede. So Centipede's another really great card, allowing you to get things back and has decent stats as well. And then 1 Hopper can be very nice to set up what you need to do, can do some interesting direct attacking bonuses, has decent stats as well, mixing with the Inzektors. It also gives you a target to do some other stuff like XYZing and Insect Imitation and just some other interesting things. And then 2 Giga-Mantis. Some people run this at 1 or 2. It's up to you. Allowing your Inzektors to get really powerful very quickly and can be very nice because you can also special summon, which is very, very nice. And then 3 Ladybug. So Ladybug's very interesting because it kind of gives you access to 5-star XYZs in a very easy way. You'll be able to abuse its effect and get out whatever you need very easily. So it gives Inzektors kind of an alternate strategy. They can use powerful equip cards on top of having access to 5-star XYZs, which, as people know, are some of the very powerful XYZs out there that can do a lot of things and have a lot of variety. And Inzektors have their own one as well, which I'll go into in that extra deck. We're also running 2 Summoner Monk and Armageddon Knight. So Summoner Monk allowing us to dump some of our spell cards to make some good plays. Armageddon Knight, one of the targets of Summoner Monk, will send whatever Inzektor you need to the graveyard. Very important to get Hornet to the graveyard early on, or one of the other cards when you're setting up what you need to. But once you get Hornet in the graveyard, you're kind of setting up the destruction on the field very quickly. So very nice to have cards like this that can do it quickly and efficiently. And then 2 Cardcar D. One thing that's important in this deck is getting the cards you need very quickly. That's the goal of the deck, is get things set up as quick as possible before you get run over by your opponent. So Cardcar, definitely a card I like to use in this deck. Dark Arm Dragon in a full dark archetype, and especially a deck type that can use the graveyard so well. Dark Arm Dragon can get out very easily. And now for the spells. So 2 Inzektor Sword. Most equip cards aren't that good, but I really like this card because it has double attack and defense, 800 attack and defense, really, really good overall. And the fact that you can just use it to recycle Inzektors from your graveyard. So really strong. I really like using this card. Some people run it at 1, but I really like running it at 2. And then 1 Insect Imitation. Nice for this deck that you can bump up the Inzektors, which is perfect for your deck because you're setting up the graveyard. Some people, again, run this at 2. I think 1 is perfect, but it's definitely up to you. I can see the use for it running 2, though. 2 Pot of Duality, again, getting the cards we need, very important. 2 MST, Book of Moon, Dark Hole, Foolish Burial, obviously for this deck. 3 Upstart Goblin, again, very important to get the deck to where you need it to be. So, running Upstart and getting what you need, very, very important. Doesn't matter for the life points. You just want to set up, Hornet and the other things. For the traps, mostly staple. 2 Call the Haunted, helping you get back things to set up the graveyard, which is very, very important to, again, abuse those effects. Not a big deal if things get destroyed after we're using Call the Haunted, because we're going to make use of effects very quickly and efficiently. So now for the extra deck, going to have a bit of a variety between 3 and 5. So Giga Brilliant has some really nice consistency that you can do with this deck to make some big plays. Leviathan Dragon, Leviair, and Main's Alucard, ones you'd expect to see. For the 4 stars, Gagaga Cowboy, Lavalval Chain, very, very good for this deck, setting up what you need, obviously. Silent Honor, Exciton, 1 Master Key Beetle. I really like having access to this in a lot of decks to protect stuff. For the 5 stars, we're going to be running Volcasaurus. Inzektor, Exa-Stag can be very powerful with what you're trying to do. Zenmeo and Terrace. There's other 5 stars, obviously, but those are the ones I like to run for this deck. And Gaia Dragon, because we can obviously upgrade to it and do some big damage. So now for the side deck. So if you haven't seen a video of mine before, just to let you know, this isn't meant to be a side deck for matches. These are just cards I want people to think about that maybe I was considering or could be good in other builds that I've seen. So just some ideas I'm throwing out there when you're building, your own Inzektor deck. So you can mix Chaos with this deck. You can run Effect Veiler or other light monsters, and definitely, run some Chaos if you want to. But it can run in the way of the deck sometimes, so it's up to you. There are other Inzektors. Giga-Weevil is an interesting one. There's some other ones. I'm not the hugest fan of them, but I've seen some other builds run them, so something to consider. Howling Insect, Mystic Tomato can both search out things, which is interesting. Thunder King Rayo can really lock down opponents, so I can see that being really good tech in this deck. I've seen some people run Tour Guide to make some other interesting plays with 3 stars, and because it's dark, it doesn't, it helps you with some of the stuff you're doing, so that's another idea. Maxi, I don't really run Maxi too much in my decks. It's just not, my personal preference, but I know a lot of people run it. And for this deck, I can see the use, obviously, because you'll gain some advantage to set up what you need. So definitely something to consider in this deck more than in a lot of other decks that also run it. As I was saying, other 5-star XYZs like Shark Fortress is a pretty good one as well. So there's also some other equip cards for Inzektors. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but they can help you kind of protect things, but not really what I'm trying to do. There are some other builds that make use of them, though, so don't, count them out. Verdant Sanctuary with an insect archetype can be interesting, but it can be difficult because we have variations on levels, but we still have a lot of 3 stars, and that could allow us to get the things we need very quickly from the deck, so it can be very nice. Allure of Darkness, again, for draw power can be useful, but you don't want to banish your monsters, so it can be difficult. Trap Stun, if you're going for the OTK, there are some OTK plays I'm not going to really get into, but obviously if you're doing that Trap Stun, Huge Revolution is over, obviously, with the type of cards you use with double cards and equips can be very interesting. So something to think about if you want to, make use of a counter trap to protect those. So that's my Inzektor deck. Like I was saying, not much variation, not even that much different from my older deck. But, it's a standard deck type. That's just kind of how it is. Maybe if they add more cards that are more useful, down the line, we'll see some more variations on it. But I still really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with it because of how strong it is once it gets the graveyard set up and how it abuses effects really easily and just really blows up the field. That's why Hornet is limited, and Hornet is really crazy once you have a good Inzektor set up on the field. So once that's going, it's a lot of fun. If you're interested in that this archetype, once you get that going on, you'll see where the fun comes from. But if you guys have your own Inzektor decks, any suggestions for me, you can post below. You can let me know if there's any cool ideas you have, or maybe you're running it a little bit differently. So let me know in the comments. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.